Okay, so you know that feeling, right?
Yeah.
You buy that shiny packet of seeds, the ones that promise perfect plants.
Mm-hmm. Guaranteed results.
Exactly. And then maybe, what, like a quarter of them actually sprout? It's super frustrating.
We've all been there, paying good money for, well, disappointment sometimes.
Right. So today, we're moving past just buying seeds. We're looking into this pretty radical idea of saving your own seeds.
And discovering this kind of surprising biological edge you get when you go local.
Yeah, exactly. This is about understanding how things really work. Getting that practical knowledge to boost success right there in your own space.
And the focus for this investigation, it all comes from these really fascinating notes by a gardener named Ang.
Ang, right, yeah. We've got excerpts from their work, Harvesting Better Seeds, Freshness and Adaptation. Specifically, we're digging into a post from September 21st, 2025, okay? It's called Notes on Gardening, Part 662, Why Your Own Seeds Sprout Better. And Ang lays out this really convincing case, like 3 main reasons why home-saved seeds often outperform the commercial ones. And it's not just a feeling Ang had. They actually tracked it, measured the difference. That's what we're getting into, that data.
Mm-hmm. Quantifiable results.
So our mission here is to unpack those 3 core reasons Ang found, the trifecta, you could say.
Right.
Why your own seeds just have this competitive edge, even over the big names. It's about understanding what really makes seeds successful.
Okay, let's unpack this. So where did Ang start? It often begins with one specific thing you notice in the garden, doesn't it?
Absolutely. For Ang, it was basil. They noticed their own homegrown basil seeds.
Sure.
They just sprouted way better.
Better than store-bought ones. Significantly better. Even compared to seeds from really well-known, reputable companies. The ones you'd expect to be top quality.
Huh. So right away, that kind of challenges the idea that industrial scale means better seeds.
It does. And that observation leads us straight into the first big reason Ang identifies. Higher viability and freshness. Viability. Okay, so just they're more likely to sprout.
Essentially, yes. When you harvest your own seed, Ang describes it as being incredibly fresh. It's at its absolute peak potential. Think of a seed as like a tiny packed lunch.
A lunch.
Yeah, like it's got this finite amount of energy stored inside, carbs, fats, proteins, everything it needs to start growing before it can make its own food through photosynthesis.
Okay, that makes sense. Like a little battery pack.
Yeah.
So what happens with commercial seeds then? Why isn't their battery fully charged?
Well, it was fully charged, but time and storage take a toll. It's not just time passing, it's active metabolic consumption.
Meaning, even when seeds are stored perfectly cold, dark, dry, the whole professional setup, they're still technically alive. They're breathing very slowly.
So they're using up that packed lunch just to stay alive in the packet.
Exactly. Slowly burning through their energy reserves. The drier they are, the slower it happens, but it never completely stops. Ang's point is, your home-saved seeds, they basically skip that whole long storage process.
Right. They go from the plant to maybe a jar in your house for a few months.
Much shorter time frame. So they hold on to way more of that initial energy, that peak viability.
What's fascinating here is you might get, say, 80% germination from a commercial packet after 2 years, which sounds okay, but your fresh home-saved seed could be starting at, what, 98%? Because it hasn't had to burn through its reserves just waiting.
Precisely. It's a huge difference. This connection between age and success, it really comes down to basic energy depletion. Thermodynamics, like you said.
So why don't the big companies just sell super fresh seed then?
Scale and standardization. It's logistics. To guarantee a minimum germination rate across massive batches, sold potentially months or years later, often internationally, they have to stabilize them for long-term storage.
Even if that means sacrificing that peak, just harvested potential.
Right, it's a trade-off. Ang's experience really hammers home that maximizing that freshness can beat out brand recognition or fancy packaging.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense from a biological standpoint.
Oh.
But saving seeds, that shifts things practically too, right? Ang talked about more than just better sprouting.
Oh, definitely. And that brings us right to the second key reason, cost savings and self-sufficiency. The obvious one first, it's cheaper.
Well, yeah, free seeds for next year, that's the immediate win. No more buying those sometimes pricey specialty packets.
Especially if you grow a lot of different things, I imagine that adds up quickly.
It can. But Ang emphasizes something maybe even more valuable in the long run. It's about building resilience, real self-sufficiency.
Meaning you're not relying on the store having what you want or, supply chain issues. Exactly that. You're insulated from all that. If there's a crop failure somewhere that affects commercial supply, Or a vendor just decides to stop carrying your favorite heirloom tomato.
You've still got it because you saved the seeds yourself.
You've got it. It's the only real guarantee you'll have that specific variety next year or 5 years down the line. You're essentially curating your own personalized seed bank.
That's control, isn't it? Securing the exact plant you like, the one that does well for you, against a system that often pushes towards uniformity.
It really is. You become the custodian of those plant lines you value. And Ang notes this is super important for varieties that might be fantastic locally but maybe don't ship well or look perfect for a supermarket.
So things that might get dropped commercially.
Right. Saving your own seed protects that unique, maybe slightly imperfect, but locally successful genetic heritage.
Okay, viability, self-sufficiency. Now the third point, this is the one I think gets really, really interesting, the evolutionary angle.
Yes. This is maybe the most profound benefit, though it takes a bit longer to really see the effects. It's local adaptation.
Adaptation. So the seeds are actually changing to suit my garden.
In a way, yes. The seeds you save come from parent plants that didn't just survive in your garden's specific conditions. They thrived. They successfully reproduced there.
We tend to think of evolution as this huge, slow, dinosaurs to birds kind of thing. But you're saying it happens faster on a smaller scale, like in my backyard?
Absolutely. It's happening season by season. Think about your specific microclimate. Your soil type, is it clay, is it sandy? Your sunlight, maybe harsh afternoon sun? Your local pests and diseases?
Yeah, every garden's a bit different.
Exactly. A seed from a packet may be bred for ideal conditions thousands of miles away. It lands in your unique spot, and it's facing challenges it's never encountered.
But the seed saved from last year's plants.
They came from parents who already figured it out. They dealt with your specific soil pH, your particular rainfall pattern, maybe that weird late frost you always get. Ang points out these seeds have basically passed the local test.
Here's where it gets really interesting. So are these differences significant enough? Like, is my backyard really that different from 150 miles away, evolutionarily speaking?
It can be, absolutely. Selection pressure doesn't need a massive disaster. It just needs to be consistent. Year after year, which plants in your garden set the most seed?
The ones that did best, presumably. The ones that weren't stressed or diseased.
Right. The ones that handled your conditions well. Maybe they tolerated that damp corner better, or flowered at just the right time for your local pollinators, or had slightly thicker leaves that resisted that specific bug you always get.
So the plants that struggled, maybe got hit by mildew or didn't like the heat, they produce fewer seeds, or weaker ones.
Fewer, weaker seeds, exactly. So over generations of saving seeds from your best performers, you are actively selecting for traits that lead to success in your garden. It's like customized breeding.
Wow. Eng mentioned specific factors.
Yeah, like disease resistance. If there's a particular fungus common in your area, any plants with even slight natural resistance will do better, produce more seed, and pass that resistance on.
So the next generation in your saved seed batch has more of that resistance built in.
Precisely. Whereas the commercial seed, grown in a totally different environment, has zero experience or adaptation to your local pressures, whether that's disease, pests, soil, or weather patterns.
That's incredible. So it's optimized for everything, the climate, the soil, the bugs, the diseases, even maybe the timing of local bees.
It all plays a part. It's the ultimate local advantage. Over time, that seed bred elsewhere is always playing catch up, trying to cope. Your locally adapted seed, it already has the genetic instructions for thriving right where it is.
That evolutionary head start, as Ang called it.
That's the term. And Ang argues that is the most powerful reason for saving seeds. It elevates it from just a thrifty hobby to a really strategic act of optimizing your garden's genetics. So if we kind of pull this all together, Ang's notes give us these three really solid takeaways. First, freshness. It often counts more than the brand name. Peak viability is key.
Freshness matters.
Second, that's self-sufficiency. It gives you real control, saves money, and protects those varieties you love.
Control and security. Got it.
Yeah.
And third, maybe the most crucial, local evolution. Saving seeds means you're essentially guiding this microevolution, creating plants perfectly suited to thrive in your specific patch of earth, an inherent advantage. And knowing this, it really changes how you look at gardening, doesn't it? You, the listener, you shift from just buying stuff to actively participating in your garden's success on a genetic level. That seed packet isn't just potential flowers or food anymore. It's a history, a set of instructions. And the question becomes, are those instructions written for your environment or somewhere else entirely?
Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Ang's success kind of challenges the whole idea of relying solely on large-scale, standardized agriculture, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, standardization gives us predictability, quantity, things that are important for feeding lots of people. But Ang's approach, this localized seed saving, it prioritizes maximum performance and resilience in one specific
Right.
place.
Optimization for here, not just adequacy everywhere.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? If saving seeds lets plants fine-tune themselves for one unique garden, one microclimate,
Mhm.
what does that suggest? Especially thinking about, climate change and long-term resilience. How do these super local approaches stack up against the big standardized systems?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
It is. It may be closer to home. What seeds in your garden right now might be ready for a little optimization? Something to think about. Get out there and maybe start selecting for your own success.